Jesus, the revelation of God, revealed to us that God is love and mercy. God is the inherent dignity of every human being. God is equality and diversity and compassion and justice and grace and acceptance. That's what God is. Not this God who lives up in the third tier and reaches down physically to change this life or that, but the God who lives in the very best of what is in the human heart. Compassion and grace and mercy and peace and joy and love and every other good thing. And the disciples recognized that in Jesus Christ. And although they were powerful and authoritative people who killed Christ and said, that's not what God is, after his death, the disciples realized something. They realized that those things truly are God, and they cannot be squashed or killed. The grave cannot hold them. And in spite of an authoritative church saying, no, that is not what God is, the disciples began to say, yes, it is what God is. God is love. God is mercy. God is compassion. God is the dignity of every living human being. And that God in Christ is raised up spiritually within our hearts and lives forever and never, ever will die again. And that is what changed the world in this event that we refer to as Easter. What was it that made the disciples believe that Jesus was God? It wasn't his miracles. It wasn't his healing. It wasn't his power over nature. It was none of those things. It was these things that I have just told you about. That they saw in him and radiating from him love and grace and mercy and peace and compassion for all. And they said, yes, this is what God is. Raised within us, living with us, and living for all eternity. And that's what the resurrection is. It is not the reanimation of a cadaver. It is not a dead body coming up out of the grave and walking around. It is the resurrection of the very substance of God, the creator of the universe. And it is that knowledge and faith and awareness that changed the disciples from a scattered group cowering in fear to the most bold and dedicated and courageous group the world has ever known, who have the strength to change everything in their society and in human history and in human destiny forever and ever. Does anyone still need God? If you mean that cheap and fake plastic God, nobody needs that. But if you mean Christ, the embodiment of the creator of the universe, pure love and compassion and mercy and grace, then yes, every individual needs that God. Every nation needs that God. The world needs that God. It is the God who will change everything, like in the glorious vision of Isaiah, lift the veil of darkness from humankind. We all need that God. And many people around you don't even know that that's who God is. So you have your work cut out for you. Go and proclaim it. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed.